Ethan Gray was an ordinary man with an ordinary life. He worked the night shift at a small data center in the city. His routine was simple: wake up, eat, work, sleep, and repeat. He had no friends, no family nearby, and no adventures. Just his small apartment, his old computer, and his favorite hobby, reading science fiction. He never believed in aliens or secret space missions. To him, those were just stories made for fun, nothing real. But all of that was about to change. It was 3:12 a.m. Ethan was sitting at his desk, sipping cold coffee and watching server logs scroll down the screen. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message appeared, glowing in blue. You have been selected for the Universal Integration Program. Confirm your attendance within 48 hours, he frowned. What the hell is this? He clicked the link, thinking it was some kind of joke or spam. The screen turned black. Then, a strange hologram appeared above the phone. A calm, robotic voice spoke. Congratulations, Earth citizen. You have been randomly chosen for the galactic initiation. Participation is mandatory. Ethan's mouth dropped open. What is this, a prank? Some weird ad? He laughed nervously and closed the app. Nice try, Internet, but the phone wouldn't turn off. The same message kept flashing. The lights in the room flickered. Suddenly, everything went silent. No hum of machines, no outside noise. Not even the ticking of the clock. Then, something even stranger happened. Time stopped. Ethan stood up, panicked. He looked out the window. The city had frozen. Cars hung in the middle of the road. A bird was stuck in midair, wings open but unmoving. The world was paused. A blinding blue light filled the room. A circle appeared under Ethan's feet, made of glowing symbols. Wait, stop, he shouted, backing away. But it was too late. The floor beneath him disappeared. He was pulled into darkness. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was standing in a giant hall. It was futuristic, metal walls, glowing lights, and strange beings walking around. Some looked almost human. Others had blue skin, multiple eyes, or floating heads. Where am I? Ethan whispered. A tall being with silver armor walked toward him. Its voice echoed inside his head. Welcome, Initiate Ethan Gray of Planet Earth. You are now part of the Intergalactic Union. Ethan took a step back. No, I didn't agree to this. I didn't sign anything. The being pointed to a screen that showed Ethan's face and a contract with a signature. Ethan stared at it. That's not real. I never signed that. Your acceptance was recorded when you pressed the link and said, "Nice try, Internet." Ethan blinked. That counts as signing? The being ignored him and gestured toward a circular platform. Please proceed to the formal initiation. Your partner is waiting. Partner? Ethan asked, confused. Before he could argue, two guards gently pushed him forward. The platform rose into the air and took him to a higher chamber. The room was dim, with glowing crystals on the walls. In the center stood a tall figure. Her skin was violet, her eyes sharp and glowing. She wore ceremonial armor and a cloak that shimmered like stars. She turned to look at him. So you're the human? Ethan froze. Yeah, I guess. Who are you? I am Zalara of the Zenthari, first warrior of the Krellin sector. Cool name, Ethan said awkwardly. So, why am I here? Zalara narrowed her eyes. You agreed to the galactic bonding. Ethan scratched his head. The what now? Before she could answer, a circle of light surrounded them. A voice echoed from above. Bonding ceremony initiated. A glowing contract appeared in the air. Symbols floated around them, forming chains of light that wrapped gently around their wrists. Stop, I didn't agree to this. Ethan shouted. Zalara rolled her eyes. Neither did I, but we are bound by honor now. The voice spoke again, louder this time. Congratulations. You are now officially bonded as life partners. Ethan nearly fainted. Wait, what? Zalara sighed. Congratulations, human. You now have an alien wife. Ethan stared at her, mouth open. Heart pounding. This was not how his night shift was supposed to end. Ethan Gray had faced many awkward moments in his life, but this one easily won first place. Standing in the middle of an alien chamber, surrounded by glowing crystals and floating drones, he had just been told he was now married to a violet-skinned alien warrior named Zalara, and she did not look happy about it. She crossed her arms, glaring at him with eyes like burning suns. You really are just a soft-skinned mammal, aren't you? Ethan, still blinking in disbelief, muttered, I was just trying to do my night shift. I didn't even want to come here. Zalara stepped forward. And yet here you are. My husband. By law of the Galactic Council, can we, cancel this? Ethan asked. I mean, humans have a thing called divorce. Zalara looked at him like he'd just suggested eating her boots. In my culture, bonding is sacred, eternal. There is no cancel button. Ethan sighed and sat down on a glowing bench. This has to be a dream, a really stupid, really weird dream. Maybe I ate bad noodles. Suddenly, a small spherical drone zipped into the room and projected a hologram. A golden alien with 6 arms and a polite smile appeared. Greetings. Honored pair, I am Varnix, your relationship observer. I will be monitoring your compatibility for the next 7 cycles. Monitoring what? Ethan asked. Compatibility, Varnix repeated cheerfully. Emotional connection, physical synchronization, trust bonding, shared goals, standard union protocols. Zalara groaned. Don't remind me. The drone continued. Failure to achieve minimum bonding level may result in severe consequences, up to and including reassignment, exile, or the destruction of one's home planet. Ethan's eyes widened. Wait, what? Did you just say? Destruction is rare, Varnix assured him. Only 6 planets were removed last cycle. That's supposed to make me feel better? But the drone had already zipped away. Zalara rubbed her temples. This is worse than the sandpit trials on Gay Run. Ethan stood up. Look, I didn't ask for this either. But if our lives and my planet are at risk, then maybe we should, I don't know, pretend to get along? She turned to him, her expression unreadable. Pretend? Well, yeah. I mean, fake it. Do whatever weird alien tasks they give us, smile for the cameras, and get through the trials. Then maybe they'll let us go our separate ways. Zalara looked at him for a long moment. Then surprisingly, she nodded. Double quotes, fine, human. We play the game, but you follow my lead. I don't care how things work on your tiny rock, I'm a warrior. Not a babysitter. Deal, Ethan said quickly. The next day, they were taken to the bonding arena, a massive rotating structure floating above a blue sun. The place looked like a giant mechanical flower, its petals moving and shifting with each second. There were other couples there too, some from species Ethan couldn't even describe. One couple looked like 2 clouds holding hands. Another looked like a cactus and a robot. Varnix appeared again, this time larger than before. Welcome, bonded pairs. Your first trial, the maze of unity. The floor beneath them opened, and Ethan fell again into darkness. He landed with a thud on soft moss. The air smelled like burnt oranges. Zalara landed beside him like a cat, perfectly balanced. A wall rose behind them. Then another. And another. They were trapped inside a glowing maze. Objective. A voice said from the sky, reach the center together. If either of you is left behind, the trial resets. Zalara looked annoyed. So it's a couple's escape room. Great. Edenta looked around. Any idea which way to go? She closed her eyes, then pointed. That way. I can hear vibrations. Wait, your people can do that? She didn't answer, just started walking. They made good progress at first. Zalara was fast, sharp, and confident. But Ethan struggled to keep up. Can we slow down a little? He panted. No, she replied without looking back. They turned. Left, then right, then into a dead end. Zalara growled. No, this isn't right. Ethan noticed something odd, a small stone glowing faintly near the wall. He touched it. The wall shimmered, then disappeared. Hey, secret door. Zalara blinked. How did you see that? I'm good at noticing weird stuff. Comes from spending too much time online. They continued, now using both their skills, Zalara's instincts. Ethan's curiosity died at one point. They were almost crushed by falling spikes. Ethan shoved Zalara out of the way just in time. They landed hard. Zalara stared at him. Why would you do that? You're my partner now, right? He said awkwardly. I'm not going to let you get skewered. She didn't reply. But for the first time, her eyes softened at the maze's center. A glowing orb waited when they touched it together. The walls vanished. A platform rose beneath them. Applause of strange alien kinds echoed around them. Varnix floated above. First trial complete. Compatibility score, 38%. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Is that good? It is. Not terrible, Varnix replied cheerfully. Zalara folded her arms. What's next? Trial 2 begins in one rotation, the drone said. Prepare for mind link. Mind what now? Ethan asked, but before anyone could answer, they were transported back to their room. That night, as Ethan lay on the strange alien bed, he looked at the ceiling, wondering how his life had flipped upside down in just 24 hours. Across the room, Zalara sat silently, sharpening a blade that looked like it could cut through steel. Hey, Ethan said softly. She looked up. Thanks for not letting me fall behind today. She didn't smile, but her voice was calm. You didn't embarrass yourself. That's a start, Ethan grinned. I'll take it. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but somehow, this bizarre bond might just be the beginning of something real. The moment Ethan opened his eyes, he regretted waking up. He wasn't in his room anymore. He wasn't even on a bed. He was floating, literally, in the middle of a glowing, translucent sphere filled with strange symbols that moved like fish in water. Across from him, Zalara floated as well, arms crossed, looking equally irritated. Where are we now? Ethan mumbled. Zalara answered without looking at him. The mind-linked chamber. Trial 2. Then it hit him. The what? A deep, booming voice filled the sphere. Trial 2. The link of thought. In this phase, bonded pairs must sync their minds and emotions. Only those with shared understanding will survive. Warning: resistance may cause temporary insanity. Ethan's eyes widened. I'm sorry, what? Before he could say more, light burst from the symbols around them. A sudden shock went through Ethan's head like a zap of electricity. Then, he was no longer just himself. He could feel her. Zalara, her thoughts, her memories. For a moment, he saw a battle, a war-torn planet. Fire and metal raining from the sky. She was younger, scared, fighting with a broken spear. A voice shouted her name. A hand reached for her. Then it vanished. Ethan gasped. He wasn't watching it. He was feeling it. The fear. The pain. The pressure to survive. And then she saw him, not as the annoying human she married, but through his own memories. His lonely apartment. The old photo of his parents, now gone. The sound of silence that greeted him every time he opened his door. The quiet wish that maybe, just maybe, something exciting would happen to his boring life. Zalara's expression shifted. She wasn't angry anymore. She looked confused. Is this your truth? She asked, her voice echoing in the link. I guess so, Ethan replied softly. What about yours? A long pause. It is what made me who I am. Then the pain returned. Their memories collided. Laughter and screams, hope and loss, the pressure of duty. The loneliness of Earth. The link was too strong. Ethan clutched his head, falling back into nothingness. When he woke up again, he was lying on the floor of the chamber. Sweat soaked his shirt. Zalara was sitting nearby, her breathing heavy, but her eyes calm. "Trial complete," the voice announced. "Bonded pair has achieved 61% emotional sync. Impressive. You may proceed," Ethan groaned. "Do all your marriage tests feel like near-death experiences?" Zalara didn't answer. But for the first time, she offered her hand to help him up. Took a dot. It was rough, strong, but not cold. Later that day, they were led into a resting chamber. It was quiet, with a view of space stretching beyond a transparent dome. Stars shimmered like scattered diamonds. Ethan stood at the window. Zalara walked beside him. "You saw my past," she said. "Most never do." He nodded. "It was hard. But I think I understand you more now. I lost people I loved. I became a warrior so no one could ever control me again," she said quietly. "And then they did this, forced me into bonding." Ethan smiled sadly. "Same. Life made me invisible, and just when I thought I was done being surprised, boom, space marriage." She gave a small laugh, not loud, but real. There was silence for a while. Then she spoke again. "There are 3 trials left." "What's next?" he asked. She turned toward him, her voice suddenly sharp. "Combat." The combat trial was nothing like Ethan expected. He thought it would be simple training: punch a robot, dodge a laser. He was wrong. They were dropped into a jungle made of purple trees and acidic fog. Strange creatures hunted them. The mission was clear: survive for 1 full rotation, 24 hours in Earth time. Zalara fought like a storm. Blades in both hands, leaping through vines, cutting down beasts with sharp precision. Ethan tried to keep up, using his brain more than his fists. He created traps, distractions, and once saved them both by baiting a predator into a pit he dug with a glowing crystal. "You're not useless," Zalara said after they rested under a rock arch. "Thanks," Ethan replied. "That's the nicest thing you've said to me so far." Halfway through the survival trial, something went wrong. A group of cloaked figures ambushed them in the fog, not part of the test. Zalara reacted fast, slashing one down. But Ethan saw something strange. These weren't test creatures. They were people. And they were aiming for him. One attacker whispered before lunging, "The human must not survive. The bond threatens the truth." Ethan dodged, barely escaping the blade. Zalara knocked the attacker unconscious. "They're not part of the trial." She growled. "Someone sent them." "Why would someone want me dead?" Ethan asked, terrified. Zalara stared at the fallen figure, then at the sky. "We need to find out. But first we finish the trial. No one kills my bondmate without going through me." It was the first time she called him that without sarcasm. They survived the night. When they emerged, covered in dirt and bruises, the crowd watching from afar erupted in alien applause. Varnix floated toward them. Combat trial passed. Compatibility 72%. But Ethan wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about the attacker's words. The bond threatens the truth. What truth? Why were they really bonded? Zalara leaned toward him. "When this trial ends, we find answers together." Ethan nodded. His heart was beating faster now, but not from fear. That night, as stars floated outside their chamber, Ethan found himself sitting closer to Zalara than before. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. He looked at her as she cleaned her blade. She looked at him as he studied a map of the council archives. For the first time, they weren't just pretending to work together. They were becoming something real. And somewhere deep, inside the Galactic Council, eyes were watching them. Whispers filled the shadows. The bond is working. But he must not learn the truth behind Project Hybrid Earth. Asterisk. The galaxy was quiet tonight. Beyond the dome of their chamber, stars stretched like endless rivers of Fire. Ships moved silently across the black sky, and distant moons glowed like watchful eyes. But inside the room, Ethan Gray's mind was loud. He sat at the desk, a hollow map of the Galactic Council archives glowing in front of him. His fingers moved through projections of laws, treaties, and hidden files, all blocked by red warnings. Access denied, level 7, authorization required. Beside him, Zelara stood still, watching his frustration grow. "You'll get nowhere," she said. "The Council hides their lies well." Ethan didn't look up. "That's why I have to try." She stepped closer. "Why does this matter to you so much, human?" He paused. "Because someone tried to kill me in that jungle. Not as part of the trial, on purpose. They knew something about me that I don't. They said our bond was dangerous." He finally looked at her. "I don't want to be a puppet in some alien game. I want to know the truth." Zelara's gaze hardened. "Then we go find it." They didn't wait for permission. The next morning, while the other bonded pairs rested, Ethan and Zelara slipped out of their quarters. Using stolen ID chips from one of the unconscious attackers, they entered the lower corridors of the Galactic Core, a place most initiates were forbidden to visit. Here, the polished silver floors were replaced by stone. Lights flickered. Surveillance. Orbs floated silently, but didn't react. "This is the old archive," Zelara whispered. "Before the AI took over, records were kept here, in data crystals." They moved deeper. Rows of glowing pillars stood like frozen trees, each one containing the history of a planet, a species, or an ancient decision. Ethan stopped at one marked Earth Category C. He touched it. The pillar opened, and a small blue crystal floated into his palm. He inserted it into the reader. The projection flickered. Then began. A voice spoke. "Project Hybrid Earth. Authorized by Council Code Theta Vion 12. Goal: study potential of human integration with superior alien genetics. Begin selective bonding via staged initiation program. Monitor emotional, physical, and reproductive compatibility." Ethan felt like ice had poured down his spine. "Wait, reproductive?" Zelara's face was pale. "This isn't just about unity. They're experimenting with you, with us." The projection continued. "Reason for selection: humans show high emotional flexibility, adaptive intelligence, and strong survival instincts, ideal for interspecies evolution. Targets are selected through predictive AI models. Bonding: candidates are chosen based on genetic markers and psychological openness." Ethan backed away from the pillar. "I'm not even a person to them. I'm a test subject." Zelara was silent. For the first time, she didn't have a smart remark. She stepped forward and accessed another crystal one, marked Krellin. "Sector." Her face twisted in horror. "Your name is in this one," Ethan said quietly. She nodded. "My pairing with a human was not random. I'm part of the program too. They manipulated both of us," she whispered. "Used my culture's honor code to trap me." Ethan clenched his fists. This wasn't bonding. This was breeding. The air around them grew heavier. Then the lights changed, red pulses blinking. "Unauthorized. Access detected." Zelara drew her blades. "We're not alone." 2 armored guards appeared at the far end of the archive. "By order of the High Council. Drop the crystals and surrender," one shouted. Ethan looked at Zelara. She didn't hesitate. She threw a flash device. Boom. The hallway filled with smoke. They ran. Through the echoing tunnels. Past old monuments, dodging sensor beams and fire. Ethan was slower, but he kept up. Zelara covered him like a shield, slicing down drones and clearing paths. Finally, they found a narrow ventilation shaft. They crawled through the dark metal tube until they emerged into a hidden chamber filled with glowing blue water. "What is this place?" Ethan asked, breathless. Zelara touched a stone symbol. "A rebel sanctuary. My father brought me here once, before he died." Ethan collapsed onto the floor, panting. So, we're experiments, genetic targets, forced into a bond based on prediction. And now the galaxy wants to silence us. Zalara sat across from him. We have two choices. Stay quiet, survive the trials, and go home. Or expose the council and risk everything. Ethan looked up. His voice was steady. I didn't come this far to run away, Zalara smiled. For the first time, it wasn't cold or forced. You're not as soft as I thought, human. That night, they sat beside the glowing pool. Ethan gazed into the rippling light. You know, he said, when this all started, I thought I was being pulled into some random sci-fi prank. Now I realize this is bigger than me, bigger than Earth. Zalara looked at him closely. You've changed. So, have you, he said. You're not just a warrior anymore. She hesitated, then added softly, and you're not just a test subject. He turned to her. Their eyes met. For the first time, neither of them looked away, but in the shadows of the Galactic Council. The danger was rising. A dark chamber, far above the trials, flickered with red light. High Chancellor Voro stood in front of a round table, surrounded by shadowy figures from different species. The bonded pair from Earth and Krellin has accessed. Forbidden's data, he growled. They know about hybrid Earth. A reptilian counselor hissed. Shall we terminate them? Voro shook his head. No, if we kill them now, the galaxy will suspect. We need a cleaner way. One that looks like an accident. Another counselor leaned forward. Activate the next trial. One they cannot win. Back in their resting chamber, Ethan was fast asleep, but Zalara couldn't rest. She stared at the ceiling, mind spinning. They had passed 2 trials, survived assassination, discovered lies that could shake the Union. She looked at Ethan. This strange, stubborn human who had risked his life for her again and again. The council had chosen them as a test, but what if that test was creating something real? She closed her eyes. Tomorrow they would face trial 4, and everything would change again. Asterisk, the alarms were silent, but the threat had already entered, somewhere deep within the galactic core, among polished marble halls and floating security drones. A new figure arrived, calm, cold, and wrapped in layers of stolen trust. His name was Kale Ren. Human, just like Ethan. But unlike Ethan, Kale hadn't come to bond. He had come to break. Ethan woke up to a sharp knock on the chamber door. Zalara was already standing, hand on her blade. That's not Varnix. He never knocks. The door slid open. A tall, well-built man stepped inside, wearing standard Union robes. Ethan Gray, he said, voice smooth. You're not the only human in this program. Ethan blinked. Wait, you're human? Kale smiled. Earthborn, Class 2 city. I've been in the Council's training wing for the last 2 years. Chosen for bonding, just like you. Zalara narrowed her eyes. But you're not listed in any pair files. Kale raised a hand. That's because my mission is different. I was placed in observation, not bonding. A silent guardian, let's say. He stepped closer to Ethan. You and your partner have caused quite a stir. Ethan folded his arms. You've been watching us? Not just watching, Kale replied. Admiring. You broke through more barriers than any other pair. Emotional sync, combat, even access to classified files. Zalara didn't relax. What do you want? Kale's expression hardened. I want to help you. There are more of us humans, and aliens alike, who believe the Council has gone too far. We call ourselves the Ember Fold. Ethan exchanged a look with Zalara. Kale continued. They think bonding is just a scientific experiment, a tool to create hybrids. But you two, you proved something else. That real connection can't be manufactured. It can be earned. He paused. Help us expose the truth. Bring down the project from the inside. Ethan hesitated. And then what? What happens to Earth? To all the other pairs? Kale looked away. If we don't act soon, Earth won't have a future. Later that evening, Ethan stood at the observation deck, watching a nebulous swirl in colors he couldn't name. Zalara stood beside him, silent. He's hiding something, she finally said. I know, Ethan whispered. But he's not wrong. Something has to change, Zalara turned to him. We exposed the council too soon. They'll crush us. They've done it before. You've seen it happen? She nodded. My father tried. He was a general. He learned the council was forcing warriors into gene programs. When he resisted, they erased him from the records. Made it look like an accident. Ethan clenched his fists. So they've always done this. And they'll keep doing it, she said, unless someone survives long enough to stop them. They looked at each other, partners by force, allies by truth. But now, something more. The next morning, Trial 4 was announced. Name, Trial of Mirrors. Purpose, reveal the truth of the soul. Instructions, enter the chamber. Face your reflection. Survive. Ethan and Zalara entered a circular room with no exits. The walls were silver, smooth like glass. Slowly, the room began to glow, and from the walls, their reflections stepped forward. Perfect copies. Zalara's copy smiled. You are weak. You feel too much. Ethan's reflection whispered, you're not a hero. You're just scared. You want to run. The real Ethan stared at his double. You're right, I was scared. But not anymore. The copy smirked. Then why haven't you told her? Told her what? That you're falling for her. And that's why you'll lose. The chamber became chaos. The copies attacked, mimicking their moves, matching their thoughts. Ethan dodged a blast and shouted, these things aren't just copies, they're made from our doubts. Zalara grunted, parrying a blade. Then, we kill our fears. With every strike, they shouted truth. Zalara, I am more than a warrior. I have a heart, Ethan. I'm not a test subject. I matter. The chamber shook. Light burst from their bodies. The copies screamed and vanished. Trial complete. But while they celebrated, Kale had already made his move. He entered the council's lower vault using stolen codes. Inside, he accessed Project Genesis, the real foundation of hybrid Earth. He didn't want to save Ethan. He wanted to control him. He uploaded Ethan's bonding data into a secret drive and whispered into a communicator. Sample is ready. Phase 2 can begin. That night, Kale returned to Ethan and Zalara with a smile. I have something to show you, he said, handing over the drive. Proof of everything. A full map of Project Genesis. Ethan took the drive, but he noticed Kale's eyes flicker. Something felt off. Zalara stepped forward. Where did you get this? Kale replied too smoothly. Let's just say I have friends in dark places. Ethan nodded slowly. You're lying. Kale froze. Ethan inserted the drive into a viewer, but instead of files it triggered an alarm. Security breach detected. Location, Chamber 8. Initiate lockdown. Guards burst into the hallway. Kale drew a hidden blade. You were never supposed to make it this far, he snarled. Zalara blocked his strike. I knew it, Kale smirked. You're powerful, warrior. But Ethan is the key. His DNA is the final piece. Once I bring him in, the council will give me command. Ethan dodged a stab, then punched Kale back. You're just a pawn. No. Kale hissed. I'm evolution. Zalara slammed him into the wall, holding a blade to his throat. You're done. Kale smiled and vanished. Teleport chip shimmered and collapsed on the ground. The guards arrived too late. Ethan and Zalara stood over the empty spot where Kale had disappeared. He has my data, Ethan said. Zalara's jaw clenched. And now the council has everything they need to create the hybrid. Ethan looked out the window. Across the sky, ships were moving faster. New lights appeared on the horizon. Warships. Something had changed. Something had started. In a secret chamber. Chancellor Voro watched Kale's report. Begin construction of the hybrid program. Ethan Gray's sequence is approved. And the bonded pair? Another counselor asked. Voro smiled darkly. Let them run. The more they resist, the better we can paint them as traitors. They will unite the galaxy against us. Exactly. Voro replied. And once that galaxy begs for order, we'll give it to them. Back in their chamber, Zalara sat across from Ethan. Neither spoke for a long time. Then Ethan said quietly, "He used me." "They all did," she said. "But not anymore." "What now?" Zalara stood. "We fight back. Not just for Earth. For every bonded pair. For every species being used." Ethan rose beside her. "For freedom," he said. She nodded. Together. And somewhere, in the shadows, the galaxy held its breath. Because war was coming. Asterisk. Silence had a weight in space. It wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence before something breaks. Ethan Gray stood in the shadows of a forgotten control room, deep inside a hidden asteroid base, watching distant council warships gathering. Beyond the black horizon, Zalara stood beside him, arms crossed, armor cracked from their last escape. Her blade resting by her side. They had run for 3 cycles now, and the galaxy was changing. Council had branded them as traitors. The holoscreens declared Ethan a human saboteur and Zalara a fallen warrior. Their faces appeared across star systems. Rewards offered. Warnings issued. But the truth was burning brighter than ever. Everywhere they fled, they found others like them, bonded pairs hiding, rebels whispering of freedom, scientists who had turned against the Council's twisted gene programs. It started as just 2 of them. Now, it was a movement. Their base was simple old tech, rusty metal. Air recycling units that wheezed like old lungs, but it was alive with purpose. Alien engineers worked side by side with human technicians, Krellin warriors trained with Martian clones. A bonded pair from the ice world of Venkar shared secrets of Council weapon codes. Unity wasn't forced here. It was chosen. Ethan sat at the planning table, watching maps flicker with red lines showing enemy patrols. Zalara leaned over his shoulder. "They're blocking the outer rings. We can't outrun them forever." "We don't have to," Ethan replied. "We hit them instead." She raised an eyebrow. "You're planning an attack?" He nodded slowly. "Not to win. Just to wake the galaxy up," Zalara smirked. "Now you sound like a warrior." "And you," he said with a grin, "sound like someone who's not annoyed by me anymore." She looked away, but not before he saw the smile tug at her lips. That night, Ethan found her standing alone at the edge of the dome, looking out at the stars. He walked up quietly. "You okay?" She didn't answer at first. Then softly she said, "We're leading something we didn't start." Ethan stood beside her. "But maybe we're the only ones who can finish it." Zalara turned to him. "I used to believe in power. In winning every battle. In never feeling anything." He nodded. "I used to believe life would always be boring." She took a breath. "But now?" He looked into her eyes. "Now what?" Zalara's voice was quiet. "Now I believe in us." Enfen didn't speak. He didn't need to. Their hands found each other, fingers locking naturally, as if they were always meant to fit. For the first time, there were no contracts, no rules, no council watching them. Just 2 people. 2 souls. A warrior and a human. And a love born not from order, but from rebellion. The next morning, they moved. Their target, Relay Station Zeta 9, a council broadcast tower that sent propaganda across 12 sectors. If they could hijack the signal, they could show the galaxy the truth. Zalara led the strike team. Ethan handled the message. The attack was fast, precise. They landed in the dead of space, slipped through maintenance ducts, and reached the tower's core in under 20 minutes. Zalara's team held off guards while Ethan activated the Controls. The screen flickered, static. Then his face appeared. "People of the Union," he began, voice calm but fierce. "You've been lied to." He pressed a button. Images flashed. Files from Project Hybrid Earth, secret labs, forced bonding programs, genetic manipulation without consent, videos of terminated pairs who resisted. Then, finally, a live feed of Ethan and Zalara standing side by side. "This is not about science," he said. "This is not about peace. This is about control, about erasing choice. But we are still here, and we choose to fight." The screen went black. Signal sent. Across the galaxy, silence followed. And then something broke. Protests began. On neutral planets, council offices were stormed. Pairs began refusing trials. Scientists resigned. The truth had spread like fire in dry grass, but fire attracts attention and fury. On their way back to the base, Ethan and Zalara were ambushed. 3 council ships closed in fast. Their transport shook as lasers slammed aside. Smoke filled the cabin. Zalara took the controls. Ethan worked the shields. They moved like one. "This is gonna be close," he said, coughing. Zalara growled. "Hang on." The ship spiraled toward an unmarked moon. Alarms blared. Systems failed. Ethan reached for her hand just as the ground came rushing up. Darkness. Pain. Ethan blinked. Light swam above him. He groaned. "Zalara." A voice. Soft. "You're awake." He turned. She was by his side, bruised, limping, but alive. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. She touched his face gently. "You're not that easy to get rid of." He laughed, then winced. She leaned closer. "The rebellion's still moving." "We just lit the fire," Ethan smiled. "Then let's keep it burning." Elsewhere, far from the stars they now called home, Chancellor Voro stared at the reports. Riots. Desertions. All because of one human and one alien. His voice was cold. "Initiate Omega Protocol." The advisor hesitated. "That protocol hasn't been used in centuries." Voro snapped. "Do it. End them, now." Back on the rebel moon, as Zalara and Ethan prepared for extraction, a strange signal reached them. An old frequency. One not used in decades. A voice played through static. It was Zalara's father, a recorded message. "If you're hearing this, the rebellion has begun again. And it means there's still hope." Zalara's hands trembled. Ethan put an arm around her. "He believed in you, just like I do." She took a deep breath, then turned toward the stars. Time to finish what he started. Across the galaxy, fleets were rising. Not just rebels. Citizens. Scientists. Bonded pairs. Even former council soldiers who had seen enough. What began as survival had become a war. And at its heart was love. The stars no longer watched in silence. They burned with tension, as if the galaxy itself knew this was the end. Ethan Gray stood on the bridge of the stolen rebel flagship Unity's Edge, his heart pounding beneath the layers of armored fabric. His eyes were fixed on the giant ring-shaped station ahead, the galactic core, home of the High Council. Beside him stood Zalara, clad in her ceremonial warrior armor, newly reforged with rebel symbols. She wasn't just his partner now. She was the symbol of a new future. And today, they would either build that future or die trying. 3 days earlier. The rebels had voted. Some wanted to continue striking from the shadows. Others believed in one final blow, storm the council, broadcast the truth, and bring the system to its knees. Ethan had stood before them, voice calm but fierce. "This isn't just about Zalara and me anymore. This is about freedom for every species, every bonded pair, every voice that's been silenced." He paused. "If we don't show them we're willing to fight for each other, nothing will ever change." And so, they chose war. The infiltration, the plan was madness, but it was the only way. Disguise the rebel fleet as a diplomatic envoy. Use clearance codes from defected council officers. Slip past the outer guard and send a strike team into the trial hall, where the council once judged initiates, and now judged their enemies. As the fleet approached, Varnix the drone who had once overseen Ethan's trials reappeared, but this time, his voice wasn't cheerful. It was strained. Ethan Gray, Zalara of Krellin, you are ordered to surrender. Do not test the Omega Protocol. Ethan stepped forward. We accept the final trial. The drone paused. Then vanished. A moment later, the gates opened. Inside the core, the trial hall was massive, glowing, cold. 12 high council members stood above them, looking down from their crystal thrones. Ethan and Zalara stood at the center. Platform, no weapons, no backup, just the truth. Chancellor Voro spoke, voice echoing through the chamber. You defied every law. You broke into archives. You spread lies. Zalara stepped forward. We spread the truth. A different council member growled. You want to dismantle centuries of peace? Ethan shook his head. We want real peace, not control. Not programs. Not forced bonding for data. The council murmured. Then Voro raised his hand. So be it. Final trial. Judgment by combat and truth. Ethan blinked. What does that mean? Zalara whispered. We have to fight. And we have to survive long enough to speak. The combat begins. The floor dropped. They landed in a shifting arena. Lava rivers. Electric walls. AI-controlled beasts. Zalara fought like fire. Ethan used every tactic he'd learned. They moved as one, dodging, striking, protecting. Suddenly, 3 combatants joined the field. Elite enforcers. Genetically enhanced. One of them was Kale, back from the shadows. You thought you could win? Kale sneered, blades drawn. Ethan stood tall. We're not here to win. We're here to change everything. They fought steel against steel, word against word, will against corruption. Ethan was knocked down. Zalara bled, but they stood. And when Kale moved for the final strike, Ethan blocked it with his own body. The blade hit his side. He fell. The broadcast Zella screamed, slamming Kale away. She dragged Ethan toward the central pillar, a broadcasting node, left unguarded. He was losing blood fast. She held him. Don't go, not now. He smiled weakly. Finish it. Let them hear us. Zalara activated the node. Her voice echoed through every device in the Union. People of the galaxy, this is not just our fight. It's yours. You were told to obey, to be silent, but you are more. She pointed to Ethan. This human, this partner, risked everything for a galaxy that wasn't even his. That's what unity looks like. Ethan whispered through pain, not control, but choice. The room fell silent. Even the council was still. The unexpected one of the council members, a crystalline being from the Helix system, stood. I have bonded before. I was used too. Another, an insectoid diplomat, spoke. My mate was erased for resisting. Voices rose. Not in anger, in agreement. Council members turning on each other. Guards standing down. Zalara knelt beside Ethan. They're listening. He smiled faintly. Then maybe we've already won. A shift in power. Voro drew a hidden blade. If I can't control the system, no one will. He charged, but the same people he ruled turned against him. Rebel forces stormed in. Former council allies took up arms. Zalara stood to face him, but this time, she wasn't alone. Varnix the drone hovered forward. I have calculated. Enough. You are no longer fit to govern. Zap. The Chancellor fell, and the silence that followed was filled with hope. 1 week later, the council was dissolved. A new alliance formed, the Free Union, led by diverse voices, bonded pairs, and independent systems. Forced trials were ended, genetic programs shut down. Every bonded pair was given a choice: stay, part ways, or continue their path together. Ethan woke up in a medical bay. Sunlight pouring through the window of a real planet for the first time in months. Zalara sat at his side, smiling. "You're alive," she said softly. He reached out. "So are we." A new beginning. They stood before a gathering. Humans, aliens, leaders. Ethan spoke first. "We weren't perfect. We were chosen by force, but we turned that force into freedom." Zalara added, "We don't need tests to measure love. We don't need control to build unity." Ethan looked at her. "I didn't expect an alien wife," Zalara smirked. "And I didn't expect to fall for a soft-skinned human." Laughter, applause. And peace. Real peace. Final scene. Later that evening, under a twin-moon sky, they walked side by side. No cameras. No trials. Just them. "What now?" Ethan asked. Zalara shrugged. "We live. We fight if we must, but we live." He took her hand. And for the first time in the galaxy's long, complicated history, love had changed everything.